What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the American Snippets podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Dave Brown. I'm here with my co-host, Barbara Allen, and we have another awesome show for you here today. Our guest is Cherie B Mathews. She is the founder and CEO of the Austin, Texas-based company, Healin' Comfort. She built this company to solve a problem faced by breast cancer patients who undergo mastectomies. Cherie actually discovered this problem when she herself underwent the procedure and experienced extreme discomfort with the abrasiveness of the regular apparel she had to wear and the difficulty securing the tubes and the drains that accompany such a surgery. But innovation is what Cherie does, and she's been innovating and solving problems her entire life, from her career at IBM to special projects for NASA to building companies and applying her drive to reimagine normal and make it better. And in this episode, Cherie brings her infectious energy with her as she shares insight in overcoming adversity, the potential for everyone to create a side hustle, the power of innovation, and her own experiences of innovating to adapt to challenges. So without further ado, here is Cherie B Mathews with Barbara Allen.
Hey there, welcome back to another episode of American Snippets. I'm your co-host, Barb Allen. Very, very excited to be sitting down here today with Cherie Mathews, who I stumbled across on Clubhouse, first learning how to use that app. I'd love to hear from people who are getting involved and getting started and growing on that app. That's a whole other show. But, you know, in the world of the unknowns, if you just persevere, you find little gems and you learn how to grow them. And Cherie is a gem that I found. Cherie, I'm so happy to have the opportunity to sit down and really connect with you in person and bring your story, your innovative mindset, and your perseverance, passionate purpose, path, whatever you want to call it, to our audience today. Thanks so much for taking the time to sit down with us.
Thank you very much for having me. I'm just taking a picture of that.
Yeah, I forgot to do that earlier too, so I'll catch up and do it while you're talking. Listen, let's get right into it. You've done a lot of great things, and I'm imagining that most people focus on one of the things that you've done almost outshines the others in some ways because it impacts so many people on a cause that so many people can connect with. And that's the apparel you developed for breast cancer survivors. I definitely want to get into that. Before we do, take us back a little bit to, how does a 22-year-old walk into IBM and not freeze on the spot? And not only not freeze on the spot, but meet this unique challenge you were given and flip it into the launch of a career. Let's share that story, please.
Okay. So, I was frozen. I couldn't feel my feet walk. But that's okay because I actually converted that fear into excitement. I had to actually guide myself I'm a downhill skier. We jump off of cliffs into snowballs, right? So when you're standing there at the top of the mountain ready to go, you feel fear because it may not turn out okay. And I would change that fear into excitement. So I absolutely had to use my athletic endeavors to guide me through that fear during that type of experience. So what happened is there's multiple tests. They're very good. IBM was extremely good at finding the fit. So lots of testing to find out where my potential fit would be. And I walked into a room. It was my final test. I didn't know it was my final test. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it is just a sea of men. And they're all like MIT professors. They're all like really super brainiacs. And I was told to put out my hand. And they put a stapler in my hand. And I said, oh my gosh, what's this for? And he said, you have exactly 1 minute to innovate the stapler. And my brain immediately went to, how do you fix something that's not broken? Which is, I think, where everybody kind of goes into the going through the motions of life. and you may have a kind of a slight idea, but you're like, nah, it still works, so I'm okay. What my mission now is to share my story to energize people taking action. So I'm holding a stapler, and literally 20 seconds is frozen in fear. I'm going to fail. I'm not going to get in my position inside of IBM that I wanted to be in, research and development and innovation tank. And then I started thinking, oh, what can I do to it? How can I make it better? And those are simple questions, but they change your brain thoughts from fear that's not broken. I can't fix something that's not broken into what can I do? That's my big takeaway. Always ask yourself, well, what can you do? So I remember back in the day, this is 100 years ago, that the office managers used to staple all our papers. And you'd hear them going down the hall, ba-bum, ba-bum, ba-bum. I was in line getting a salad one day, and I heard one of the office managers saying, oh, my hand hurts so much from pounding this stapler. Oh, look at my hand. Now, it wasn't my person I was with, so I'm thinking I'm just kind of eavesdropping. That came back flash. I grabbed a coaster off of the big table. I put it on top of the skinny stapler. Mm-hmm. And I said, increase the surface area so it's more gentle for people's hands. And I did it within my minute. And I got what's called a polite golf clap. Yeah. Which is they're kind of like, well, you didn't get a hole in one, but you did all right. All right. And then all of a sudden I got a big hooray, you're in. That's so awesome. The takeaway really is, don't think you only can fix things that are completely broken. Open up your mind into thinking, making things better all the time. So that's my stapler story. And that got me into reverse engineering projects for NASA. So I always say, thank you, stapler story.
Yeah. Thank you, stapler story. Yep. That's the next thing I wanted to hit on, but pull some lessons, go a little bit deeper into those takeaways and apply those to, that whole stapler story, how people today, especially I think today, we're a year into the time that everybody's lives was flipped upside down. We're flipped upside down. Businesses are closed and people are really feeling the fallout of COVID in so many different ways. But in terms of, let's start with professionally, maybe someone now is like, okay, I figured out a way, I'm paying my bills, I got this here or there, like I'm okay, and just kind of hanging on, right? And they're figuring, well, I'm better off than a lot of people who aren't hanging on, so I'm just going to stay here for a minute and hope that goes okay, right? What are some things that you would say to somebody who's just in that, I'm just going to hang on and hope nothing else goes wrong, and I'm just going to skate through until things open up and, not really push themselves to take another leap or try something to go a step further instead of just hanging on to where they are?
Stop living small. Raise the bar and go for it. This is the time where innovation is your best friend. And never just hang on the bar. Always look up. Always look up. I'm just going to say live big. Stop living small. And I know it sounds kind of like not everybody has the courage to do it, but I believe everybody can. There's like more multimillionaires being made right now in our society because of the problem that presented itself, which is COVID. Right. The innovative brains are making world-changing changes. And so I absolutely would tell everybody, okay, it's fine for you to catch your breath. Everybody's just sucking wind here, like, what just happened? I get it, but don't stay there long. Don't stay there long. Go for the next rung. Go for the next one. Gotta go.
Yes, I love that. And I mean, I guess a lot of people are happy, like right where they are, and they just, they have no desire to go further.
I think they do.
Yeah.
Given permission. I do believe they do. I believe it. It's just like a child doesn't even know they can do yet another thing. I think they need to be told and have examples. And I think then they go, oh, that applies to me. Okay.
Interesting concept. I know when we started, we struck out on the path that we struck out, I had a lot of people looking at me like, you're doing what? You're doing what? So did you get paid to speak yet? Well, it doesn't work. If you didn't get paid to speak in the first month, it didn't work. Looking for reasons to point out, validate, I think, to themselves, like, well, it's a good thing I didn't try it because she's a month in and she's still, figuring her path out, right? So I think what you just said about finding examples of people that have done it and go and I think that goes hand in hand with blocking out all the other people who are sort of laughing at you and hoping you fail, not even so much because they don't like you, but because they don't want to face that in their own world. Like, well,
Correct.
if she succeeds, if she fails, then that's proof that I made the right decision,
Yeah. And that gets back down to Michael Jordan being cut from the basketball team. How high school cut. He's not good enough.
Can you imagine that coach probably never lives that down?
Edison, how many fails?
Yeah.
How Abraham Lincoln, how many fails?
Yeah. And you know what? In your flip book, which we were just talking about before we recorded, I love that you show all those examples. There was the Play-Doh, and there were a couple of different examples of the things that started out as one way and left Slinky was a big
mistake. Huge multi-million-dollar mistake that all children played with. Sand spurs was from a man in Scotland taking his dog for a walk. And instead of just grumbling about the sand spurs stuck in the dog, he's like, what makes these so sticky? See, just get out of the normal thinking and say why. Just be like a child. A child will do that. They're like, I hate these stickers. What's wrong? Why do they do this? Adults don't. They stop playing in their minds. They're like stupid stickers and they take them off. But that's the end of it. Dead brain.
Functional fixedness. Yeah. We're
sure.
stuck in that.
Wayne Gretzky tells us that you miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
Yep.
So what? Who cares those people are always, I call them anchors. And really this is my thing. I put my hand up physically and I say, yeah, you're not my people. It's simple for me. It's like, you're not my people. You're not encouraging and uplifting. I don't care if I fail 20 times. I am going to win 21 on my 21st try. I'll tell you what, just never give up. Just keep swinging for the fences. Just do it.
I love that. And your life has certainly been an example of that. And you took that next tier up from IBM. You mentioned a minute ago that you moved into working for NASA reverse engineering.
In IBM, I had special projects because
working with NASA. Yeah,
for sure.
So how does that happen?
It happens by going for it, not being afraid.
This is like a theme of your life. When I popped on your Instagram page, I'm like, man, this woman, you're just out there. Like every minute, you're just doing. I love it. You just have such a joy of life, and you can see you're present in everything you do. And already in the first 6 minutes, you've said that probably a dozen times. I love it. So sorry to interrupt, but go ahead because it just struck me. I love the energy. Carry on.
Sharon Lecter puts it all nice and clean. She says, "Why not?"
Yeah.
I mean, really, why not? This is your dance on the earth. Enjoy it. Try. I never want to be that person saying, I was so afraid to try to bring that product to the market. I didn't want rejection. I don't want people, they're not my people. I don't listen to them. I go for the real super achievers and not necessarily only successful ones, the ones who just won't give up. Guess what? They will be the winners.
Yeah. I have a friend who started the similar thing. She would meet someone and in 5 minutes, she'd be like, yeah, we're not going to be friends. Like we're not going to be friends. And it's the same thing. And it sounds cold, but once you get real clear in what you want and you understand that some people are going to look at you that way and say, yeah, you're not my people. And you just don't take it personally. It's almost like a favor when somebody says to me, you're not my people. Cause I'm like, okay, move on, at least I'm not going to waste time down that path. Right. So working on the project for NASA, you took the chance, you went out there. What is it that you did for them?
I reverse engineered the first 4 megabit chip to go into the space shuttle program, which was a big miracle at the time because we had 1 megabit chips that we would interconnect to make 4 megabit chips. And we had a 4 megabit chip on the size of your thumbnail. And as you can see now, we have like gigahertz. I mean, it's crazy what we have right now, but that was a big, big deal. It took 14 hours of nonstop grinding away to try to figure out their bit fill maps and their failure rate of a competitor. And so I'm a big reverse engineer. And so even when we were talking about earlier about finding role models, reverse engineer everything. In fact, before I even became an entrepreneur, I reverse engineered how do people fail? Why does 93% fail in 3 years? So I made a big list of why people fail before I started being an entrepreneur.
What were some of those things you found out?
Well, some of them, honestly, I'm just going to say money, a lack of knowledge of money, a lack of vision of the end goal, like Napoleon Hill really encourages to have the vision of what does it feel like at the end? Where are you trying to go? What's the trophy you're chasing? So go from that end, right? Even though it's going to change and morph and grow and change like that. But what does it feel like when you've reached your goal? Where is your end game? And go backwards. But people don't. They say, look, I got a new thing. It's in my hand and you too want it. You need this. And everybody's like, oh, I don't know what you're talking about. There's too many people bombarding my brain on what I'm supposed to do, what I need, all this type of stuff. So go backwards, get some role models. But I think money is a biggie. People don't understand money. They don't understand the energy of money. They don't build in what I call soul pay in their business.
What's that?
And that is when the money actually isn't there in part of the journeys, that your soul is paid in full. So I call it soul pay. So that means there's times when I started my journey with Heal and Comfort, $25 left in the bank. Now, I want to tell you that I started with $1,000 on purpose to have an authentic story on how far can one idea be. So like even if you're a high school or college student or you're 90, my story can encourage literally anybody on the journey. I wanted that authentic story, so I never dipped into my own money to save myself. Okay. So money, lack of knowledge of money, lack of team, lack of vision. People have big ideas all the time, or they think they're big ideas and they're like champagne bubbles. They go poop, right? But there's no substance behind it. How do you, like Sharon Lecter says, okay, you're an author, you wrote a book, great. That's not the end of the game. Build a business around the book to get the book into the people's hands. And Jeff Bezos says it best, in my opinion, is adoption is what's disruptive, not your little gizmo. Okay? It's adoption. If you don't have people adopt to your idea and need your solution, you have zero business.
Love it. Everything you're saying is so funny that you're talking about reverse engineering. Like I literally just had this conversation right before I hopped on about reverse engineering masterminds. If you can't get into, or you're not sure what to mastermind to join, you can't afford it at this moment. Like you can reverse engineer your proximity, your life to, take the mastermind mindset out into life and build it there. And I love that you just said it's like a message that, that's the right path. So let's get into then, you talked about, you've touched on it a couple of times, the business you built, starting with $1,000 and the Heal and Comfort. And this certainly, it's a really emotional connection that a lot of people make to this. I've never had to endure breast cancer myself, but like everybody, I think I know people who have. And so I don't know anyone who can't connect on some level. And if it impacts me so profoundly, just knowing two people who are special to me who've gone through that, I can't imagine what it is for somebody who's actually gone through it. So get into that story about that path and your whole experience with that and how I love how you took it and turned it into something so powerful for people.
Thank you. I'd like to lead up the story on where I got the courage to do something about what something was broken out there. And that was, I don't know if you read the golf program that my best friend and I started.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So,
the national program.
That's a good lead into the entrepreneur journey is because we saw a problem out there as teachers. After IBM, I went into teaching because it was a noble cause. I wanted to pour into our young people. You cannot have a better investment, in my opinion. And so my best friend came to me and told me a certain student is taking golf lessons. I'm like, well, that's good and natural because their father is a world champion, golfer. I said, but what about all kids? Look at what basketball, volleyball, soccer has done for children. Why can't we bring golf into the public school systems and help all children? Because they're amazing athletes, and look how they can get out of their hardship situations and get on, a new future, a new vision. So really short, we started with our test pilot was 48 students. That's our like a little proof of concept. And a long story after of 1,000 doors slammed in our face because I can be Einstein. I can't teach math in the public school system. You cannot just get in. And our end goal and our end achievement was we helped reach 10 million underserved community and children in public schools. And we're now watching our children go into college. So
That's
we
awesome.
taught them right from kindergarten. So that gave me some juice.
And that's the first T, right? The first T national
school program. What gave me the juice was, how does one idea, but what about all kids? How does just a conversation, just an idea, turn into an impact of 10 million children? How does that happen?
I think people need to be careful what they say around you, because all of a sudden they're going to be like, okay, but in the very best way, if you don't want to be challenged, like I would not be throwing out any, hey, I wonder what ifs around you unless I was like, all right, let's do it. That's freaking awesome. Yeah. Yeah. So 10 million kids from all those doors closing, getting into the schools is not necessarily easy for, all the political reasons that are involved. Yeah. With it. And, in my world, it's so funny when you say people don't understand or the energy of money, because, I had to work really hard to like sort of undo what I was raised in, which is what my parents were raised in, was that, this is where we are, this is where we stay. Things like golf, for instance, are for other people. Like even golf was seen as a luxury, right? And so, no, you can't afford golf. And so it would just never have occurred to me. So even when you said, let's bring golf in, I was like, oh, well, how do those kids afford that? Like, how do you, it's funny. I had the things that stick with you. How did you overcome that? Was there sort of an obstacle with people thinking like golf isn't for us? Like, what am I going to do with golf? Like golf is
to this day, golf has had a very bad marketing message, and they only show one type of person playing it.
Yes.
Yeah. Golf is an athletic endeavor. It's a sport. So when you show people that don't look like what you perceive them, the only golfers should be, playing golf, learning the 9 core values, the perseverance, the judgment, the honesty, the things that are innately, see, in basketball, you can go down the court and the only thing somebody's going to score, the only thing you do is you think about, how can I trip him up, take down his hand and not get caught? Yeah. You don't want the whistle to blow. So, but your coach has actually coached that in you. Yeah. Like, get them down, don't let them score, but don't get caught. That's a programming for young people, right? Golf is, you could be out in the middle of the woods, there's not a soul around, and you got stuck in the mud and it took you 2 turns to get out. You have to claim it on yourself. Your self-governor is, I'm going to be honest. I'm going to have integrity in the sport. So we love the game of golf for our underserved communities because it's a game changer in their brain. So anyways, so that gave me a lot of confidence. Okay, so I'm having a great time in life. I get the dreadful phone call. And the news, I'm sorry, Mrs. Mathews, but you have breast cancer. Okay, not in my family. Organic eater, long distance runner. My husband's a 3-time Ironman. We eat everything we do. I'm like a flashing billboard for what to do to never get cancer.
Yeah.
But I think it was pretty shocking. And so what I did, and I wanted to share this, it's kind of not the most fun story, but I want to share this. It took me a long time to to be able to talk about this, but I was diagnosed on my left side, and the left side was what was in jeopardy of being removed. Okay. I did 48 pages of research from all over the world. This is be your own advocate story.
Yeah.
And I determined through my research that I had a very big chance of this being a bilateral disease. Now, I studied all different countries. What did they do? How did they do? How they did everything. And I literally presented to a board of surgeons and oncologists that I need this is back in the day, 20 years ago, double mastectomy, not a single, because I wanted to live. I just wanted to be here. I don't want to deal with cancer again. Okay, no. The answer is no. We don't take off healthy body parts. That's not like if you had a problem in your right arm, you're not going to take off your left. It doesn't even make sense, right? It does make sense according to my research. Again, the takeaway is be your own advocate. Do not just go in the sheep led to slaughter. You've got to ask questions. Okay, bottom line, I come out, pathology's done. I had more rampant cancer undiagnosed in my right side than my left.
Wow.
It was a life-saving measure. This research saved my life. And even the doctor sat down all peaked and said, how did you know? Because I asked why and where'd this come from and why is it? And they determined actually that it was environmental toxins. It wasn't a genetic, anyways, that's what they feel that was creating the inflammation that created the cancer cells.
Such as what, like chemicals in a yard or
perhaps,
like mold or they don't know?
All that stuff. Yeah. So anyways, that was the origin because I always wanted to know why.
Yeah.
So what happened to me is after my double mastectomy, which nobody wants to fight for more surgery of body part removal.
Yeah. How long did that take you? I mean, you actually had to go and convince doctors
to win.
To amputate your, wow.
Other side. Yeah. No, I know. It's
as if this is just a whim. Hey, while we're here, like, do you think I like
it's the most bizarre thing. I even think about it now. And I'm like, wow, not a lot of people would advocate for more. Anyways, so in my situation, the real takeaway is because, doctors are awesome and they know what they're doing. It's not their first rodeo, but do ask questions. Make sure you understand what's happening to your body and your treatment. I mean, it's important. So I wake up after double mastectomy and I reach for my lipstick. Actually, I couldn't reach. I had my husband put it in my hand. I'm like, oh, because I wanted to feel like still here. And then the nurse tried to get me up to get me dressed. And so off we go to go home. And what I brought was what was recommended, which was a big loose man's dress shirt, a used dress shirt. And when she tried to get me dressed, it was too much movement for me. And I got sick all over my shirt. And she got mad because guess what? She can't discharge me until the doctor so like I put us way back. And in her opinion, I put her back in her schedule, right, to get this patient out. And she said, what did you bring this for? And I just said, wow, okay, first mastectomy. And why don't you have something for me so I don't have to guess wrong? And she said, well, we'll give you safety pins. What safety pins mean is they hold the medical drains, that are sewn into the body to help remove fluids after a big surgery like this. And I said, safety pins? I can't wear a safety pin. What? Safety pins is not medical equipment. Yeah. Then what started making me crazy mad was a sprained elbow receives a sling without even asking. Okay, a sprained elbow receives more equipment than a man or a woman that's literally been butchered. And I brought the wrong thing. Then I started thinking, you know what? If a man was to lose his man parts in the war against cancer, they'd never say, hey, just bring your wife's big flowy skirt.
Right.
Okay? Because you want something non-binding. So what flipped for me was I don't have my breasts anymore. And I was told to bring my husband's dress shirt. Guess what? That doesn't fit in my brain anymore because I'm already devastated with what's gone on and now what I look like. And so I went home, I shuffled into my closet and there was no adaptive clothing. I had nothing in my closet. I either have motorcycle gear, golf gear, Chanel stuff, like flowy, like lovely dresses and gowns and nothing for this. So then I just decided to create a solution. But the solution that I had in mind was challenging for me, because the only subject I ever failed was home ec, because I stapled things. I stapled my hem to the platzo pants back in the day. They look like a big skirt, but they're actually pants.
Yeah.
But I had to go to a basketball game, so I stapled the hem. Okay. So I failed. So I watched Coco Chanel, reverse engineer. I watched Coco Chanel 3 times, and I learned that you could be a boss of fabric. And so I made my prototype. I said, I want to start with only like $1,000 for this solution, because I want to encourage young people or older people, it doesn't matter, that you don't have to go, $200,000 in debt, get a VC right off the bat before you've even done a proof of concept. So my $1,000 in a small goal, Barbara, was $1,000 to help 100 patients in Austin, Texas. And I'm done. I don't want to talk about cancer. I don't want to do this, but I did want to do that one story. Okay. Mm-hmm. So that 100 people has now turned into 41,000 souls, and it's all by word of mouth. I still have not to this day done professional marketing.
Yeah, I saw that. And, I wish I had known about you a couple of years ago when I had some friends who could have really used your products. And I love that you also address men, because one of my friends, he's a Vietnam and Gulf War veteran who's been through every form of trauma you can imagine from service, proudly so, would do it again. But he also is a breast cancer survivor and has had surgeries. And a lot of people don't really apply the concept of breast cancer to men. So how did you connect with the men who need this?
Well, okay, so the men, they have their breasts removed. I know it's uncomfortable to say that, but it's basically their pectoral muscle and fatty tissue that we have. We're all, everybody has breasts, but so with my solution, I made it so it was like silky soft, feather soft, because I couldn't even blow air on myself. Internal pockets to hold the medical drains. Why is that important? Drains are full of body fluids, and that's not something you want to parade around with. So I made it about comfort and dignity, and then Velcro opening. So what the guys were using is filthy, dirty bungee cords from their garage. They'd sling it around their neck.
Dudes are gross.
They hold the drains, but guess what? Infection can happen.
Yeah.
So I made actually so I started off with the pink shirt. Okay, remember, I'm rolling on my profits. That's how I'm building my business, because there's no magical money falling from the sky. I wanted to absolutely do this like I was in high school or college, or I'm 90, I don't have money. And so I would roll on it. But guess what happened? I started getting men wearing pink shirts. And they're posting on my Facebook like, thank you for designing this solution. I don't have to use my bungee cords anymore. I'm like, oh, dude, okay, we're fixing this. So I made a blue heel and comfort shirt. I made a black heel and comfort shirt. And guess what my intention was for the black one? In the arms, it's the only color that's neutral. I couldn't make it blue, like, navy. I could not make it camo. I could not make it, the light brown. Black is like special ops, right? Yeah. So I made black, and guess what? I cannot believe all the men that wanted this black recovery shirt because they still look cool. And I joined with Male Breast Cancer Coalition, and they have a special outreach just for men. And so super blessed to work with that nonprofit, Male Breast Cancer Coalition. So that's the story on how men got involved, because it didn't really necessarily dawn on me that men can get breast cancer. It really didn't. I was in my lane. I was trying to help women have comfort and dignity. And then I'm like, the dudes need comfort and dignity too. And so it's been a beautiful collection of just souls, people that need help.
Yeah. Wow. And one thing that I noticed about you too off the bat, and this is something I talk about in my lane, if you will, when I meet people who have gone through something or overcome something, it's interesting to me. I could tell a lot about where a person is in life by how they introduce themselves. And, like you don't lead with, I'm a you don't lead with cancer. You lead with the solution that you had, and there's a difference. There's a difference to that. It's not, which isn't bad, right? It's not like a shaming thing or whatever, but I'm in the world of widows. And when I meet people who are, 10, 15 or whatever it is, the first say, well, I'm a widow. Like they still lead with something that's happened to them, or, I'm a survivor of trauma. I'm a survivor of this. I'm a survivor of that. I'm a divorcee. So it's interesting in how people identify themselves. And all along the way, whatever you do, you bring the solution first. Like that's what you lead with. And the story comes with it, right? But it's not your spotlight. It's your path, really.
This is an important discussion because so some people will understand this, that I don't give it energy. It happened, but it's not what feeds me night and day.
Right.
Solutions and growth and leaving the campsite cleaner than when I came is my goal. So you're right. I would think the people that only are drinking that one bit of Kool-Aid are still broken souls. Okay. And I think if they start thinking about it, that this happened to them, but this is what I'm doing about it, and that's where their identity is, I think they'll become a much happier soul. Even though it's tragic and it's traumatic, nobody's taking that away. And there's a time to bring that in. But I lead as I'm a cancerpreneur. I took I
love that.
Crappy thing and made it into a great thing for others. And by the way, I had breast cancer myself.
Yeah, that it is such a differentiating factor. And again, it applies, I think, so strongly to, in particular, this past year that the whole world has really gone through. And there's a lot of people who are, their lives are forever changed. I mean, setting aside whether they lost someone to COVID or they got COVID, it's the professional fallout and the depression and like all the ripple effects that are coming down the way. What are your thoughts on, or what have you seen in the people who are pulling themselves and navigating this past year and flipping it to find some sort of alternate path that's working for them versus the people that you may see that are just stuck in the overwhelmed, oh my God, kind of lane?
Broken brains, broken thought patterns, mind chatter of negativity. And you are what you think. As a man thinketh, so is he. So there's no not recognizing the bad that's happened. A lot of people aren't here anymore. It's terrible. Okay. If I stay in that energy, I might as well just sit in a chair and wait till I'm 90. Like, you have two choices. Either be an overcomer or you get overcome. There's only
That's
two.
a good one.
But there's only two. An in-between person's still not overcoming. So you're still stuck in the mud, right? So when these things happen in life, I think you use them as building blocks to actually reach a different plateau in your own walk on this earth. Everybody has their own dance, their own journey. And I think that if you use good and bad as your stepping stones, nobody can steal your experiences from you, right? And I believe in afterlife. So I believe what you do on this planet are like spiritual deposits that you live in forever. Einstein said energy never dies. And as a believer, I'm a believer, is that energy that you're pouring into people with good intentions and good heart, you live in forever. That's your spirit body that you live in forever. That's how you get to be happy afterlife. See? Because we don't have any proof that energy dies. There's nothing. So,
right.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is get going. It's harder today. If you're stuck, recognize you're stuck. It's okay. We're all on a journey. You can even use being stuck as part of your gift to give to other people. We're all here to reach down and help our brothers and sisters up. And then guess what? Very next person, I reach up and they help me up. And then you reach down and you help them up. That's That's what people are. That's what they should do.
Yes, more of it, please. So how have you adjusted this past year? How has your professional routine or goals, milestones, goalposts, whatever you want to call it, changed or shifted?
I was directly affected because surgeries completely came to, again, I help people that are going through big surgeries, okay? So they completely came to a halt. Wait,
breast cancer surgeries even came to a halt?
Oh my gosh, they did chemical suspension. I'm not criticizing. I'm just saying, can you imagine how hard it is for people that want something out of their body and they can't come in?
Wow.
It's still living inside.
I don't know how I didn't know that. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, what it feels like is a terrorist that lives within. Yeah, imagine waking up every day and knowing that this ping pong ball is still there trying to kill you. What a difficult journey that is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. So, all right, go ahead. Sorry.
And then no, it's okay. And then I'm a product to market business. So that means my products being made all different places, and everything was a screeching halt. And I still have hundreds of thousands of dollars out there where magically disappeared. So it was a big hit. It was a big hit. But I just really believed in my end goal. And my end goal was I am a solution-driven business. And I will absolutely get this done. So the perseverance is like those doors slammed in your faces, like with the golf program, 1,000 doors. So COVID's like, 10,000 doors slammed in your face. But what do? You have two choices. You overcome it or you become overcome. And it's like a tidal wave can crush you and sweep you out to sea, or you learn to get a surfboard and go surfing.
Yeah.
The tidal waves are coming, whether we want them to or not. They're here. They're here. They're going to come tomorrow. It's okay. Get your surfboard out.
I love it. And through this all, you're still just smiling. And I'm sure that there are days, where the smile's a little harder to tap into. But overall, the energy and the mindset and vitality that you bring is evident. And talk about what a game changer that whole mindset can be, where if you, like for me, I met my tragedy, and I talk about this with a friend of mine, who, by the way, I definitely have to introduce you to, but I met my own trauma from a place of predetermined failure. Like I had already told myself, if this one thing happens, it's like game over for me, right? And that had a profound impact on how I dealt with it, right? But you appear to be someone who approaches life with that opposite mindset. Was that something that you always had? Like, was there a time in life where you didn't, like that wasn't your default to just pivot and say, okay, this happened, let's charge forward?
Well, you do need to know when to cut your losses and get on to the next thing. You do need to know that. But I would have to say that I just want to put in the vision of your listeners is, okay, you finally make it to the hockey league, the best there is. You have your big shot. The puck is delivered to you. You take a shot. It's blocked. You go off the ice. You take off your equipment. You go home. That's how sad it is when people think that they took a shot and they didn't get their outcome and they give up. And I think it's Babe Ruth, how many strikeouts, A-Rod, how many strikeouts to get to be the number one, come on. You just have to really, really believe in your end goal. A burning desire, as Napoleon Hill says. Do you see your outcome that you're after? Or are you just living today to see if you can get through another day and maybe make another something positive happen? That's not a game plan. That's not a roadmap. You
Love
can't
it.
get there. You won't get there. You're just blind walking through it. Sometimes you'll trip over this and sometimes you'll make it. It's not a roadmap. It's not, you gotta live the ending. You gotta feel it. So when everything starts going really wonky and crazy, it's almost like I acknowledge this, and what I fix, I will fix, but I am going here and nobody's stopping me from getting here. Only I will be happy when I'm here, not there.
Yeah.
And if you really have confidence in your here, you won't be distracted by the there.
Absolutely. It's so basic and simple, but it's right on point. I have people that kind of still look at me and laugh. Like, I'd personally rather crash and burn forever than never fly, or like never take that chance. Because
so I would even change that language. I'm not trying to be, but so that can never come out of your mouth.
No, but I mean, in terms of, I don't care, because I look at wherever I crash and burn, like the earth, I may scorch the earth with a failure, but something grows from it, right? Like I don't mind the crash and burn because there's growth after that. So it cleared, in my mind, the burn just levels out everything that was in my way and the things that were holding me back. And for me, in that, I've always learned something. So the next time I go on, there is no crash, or the crash is softer or whatever. But I've had some massive burnouts in my life, and I not that I don't care, but I don't, like, I know it could happen again, but I don't care. Like I'm gonna, like I know it may not look like the way I want, but I'd rather go through that experience, because for me, every time, from the scorched earth, new growth happens, right? And so I'm ready for it. Like I don't even, brace for whatever it is. I just go. And other people will look at me like I'm just flat out crazy. Like, but you tried this and you had to reshift. I'm like, I didn't quit. There's a difference between quitting and a tactical retreat in my head.
Yes.
So, while other people are like, oh, you quit. I'm like, well, I retreated from that because it wasn't my path. I'm going over here now. But,
you got to see your trophy. You got to see what you're running after.
Yeah.
Even in physics and even in, that's your quantum energy, right? And that is what you are, we're all connected. But even if you burn down grass, what happens? New grass, nitrogens and things like that. So if you look at it as a stepping stone instead of a crash and burn, I really believe in the vibration of positive confession and prayer. So mind chatter is toxic. It repeats itself almost like a Teresa, over and over and over. Nobody else in your family's ever reached this level. Nobody else in your family's ever reached. They're dreaming. You're just dreaming. That's not who we are. That is toxic mind chatter that can poison the very cellular level inside your body. You will become that thing that you talk to yourself. And so when a bump in the road happens, say, well, how I can not have that happen again is by doing this. And thank you for that experience.
Yes.
It's done. Don't dwell on it. Keep moving.
Yeah. And the not dwelling, I think, is a hard part for it was for me, sure. And I definitely know a lot of people who dwell and let that kind of eat at them and create doubt instead of conviction, So lessons learned, moving on. I love all of this. I feel like I could keep you going for hours. But before I do let you go, I need to ask this one question. We started American Snippets, and a lot of this is to your point, the mind chatter and what you become, but we apply it nationally. We started this about 3 years ago, really with just a vision and not entirely sure where we were going, but we knew for sure that we wanted to push back against the negativity in this country for the same thing. We wanted to change this country's mind chatter from all the negativity to some positivity. And now more than ever, that's really proving to be a need that's taking off. But one of those things that we realized was that people were pushing back against the notion of the American dream, saying it was dead, it wasn't available, it never existed in the first place, it's only available for this kind of people or that kind of. But we understand, especially as my husband gave his life in the military, right? It bothered me to see people giving up on the dream that he gave his life for. So I took it very personally. We understand the American dream is different for everybody, and that's the beauty of it. No one person has the same version of that American dream, and that's the whole point of it, of being in this country. So we like to ask our guests, and I'd like to ask you, what is your own version of that American dream?
I believe the American, and thank you. God bless you. I mean, wow, what a sacrifice. I mean,
Well, I didn't do it, but
no, no, well, it
but
is.
no, go ahead.
It's
Thank
in
you for saying that.
that's your
Yeah.
life. I mean, that.
Yeah.
Thank you for not curling up in a ball and going in the corner. So I'm going to thank you for your
Okay.
sacrifice. It takes a lot to do what you're doing. But I believe the American dream that's common to all, because I always think about like this, like, yeah, but that I don't just be on this little island and what's good for you because you da 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 da. But I believe this with all my heart. This is really why I'm even doing this interview. Other than the fact that I love you, I think you're awesome. Is this. I believe every single American citizen can build a side hustle. And we absolutely can make this country a role model to countries all over the world by our inventive and innovative thinking. And what it means to me is actually not be in a depressed country where, as a woman, I certainly couldn't talk about mastectomy. I have women from all over the world reach out that they won't even have the surgery because if they don't get married, they don't go to heaven. And if they get marred in their bodies, they're no longer desirable. So we live in the greatest country. And I believe how we can energize and bring the backbone again is small business. And so that's part of my standing on the roof or standing on the mountaintop and screaming, find your side hustle, enjoy your life, enjoy your dance. You are living in the world's greatest country. Even with all this upheaval, even with all this, you are, look at who even pioneered, America. Of course, I'm First Nation, I'm Blackfoot. So I'm saying we did, but it's okay. I'm just saying that we made property, live off the land. And then, it's like we're a huge melting pot of brilliance. And we just need to have the stepping stones to have your small business while you're going through your big business life. I believe it with all my heart. Because even if you had a not so much fun job, if you had your side hustle that you can't wait to get home and do something that's passionate to your heart, can you imagine if every human being, all our American citizens had their fun side hustles and they're getting rewarded for it, making money? That's what I really believe. You're in the country where you can do this.
I love that. Awesome. What's the next side hustle in your mind that's taking root and festering?
Oh, that's a good question. So with my shirt solution, that's a physical solution. I'm now bringing technology that the shirt will be scannable. And when you scan with your smart device, you'll be able to connect to the world's most powerful platforms to help you navigate through cancer seamlessly in the privacy of your own home, including telemedicine. And I'm bringing in augmented reality. So my big thing, the next big thing would be, let's think of somebody at 2 a.m, they're raging in a fever. What happens? Or they don't feel well, whatever, after surgery. Remember, I also help, stroke victims and heart surgery and organ transplant. So they can scan it and call up their doctor and have an augmented reality visit by the doctor beside your bed. The difference is people that are unwell, think about organ transplant. They get in a car, they bump along the road, and they do what? They go to the emergency room and they sit and do what? They sit and sit and sit. Okay? Because we don't have the infrastructure. Baby boomers are getting older. People need stuff. So I'm going, in my mind, I already have the technology I'm partner with, startup, that you can scan my shirt and you can connect to global platforms, clinical trials, communities. You'll never be alone. You'll never be alone. So the shirt actually talks now.
Oh my gosh. So if I have the shirt on, is it one universal scan or does it scan to me? Like, does it have
one
my
universal? Yeah, it's one universal. I put you in platforms, but you could even put in your doctor portal. So you have, you have access to your portal.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really cool. And it's called Envision Eli Technology. I'm a percentage owner, and I jumped on this because I wanted my next fix, my next solution to be more in technology, because I love the technology aspect on what it can do for us using the AI systems and IBM Watson. And so this is what patients do. They Google themselves to death on Google. They look at dreadful photos that will maybe never be part of their life, but they're fixated on what Google delivered. Nothing against Google, I love Google, but they're fixated on what maybe not be the best delivery or encouragement because they're just Googling. So now we have hand curated over $1 billion available to every breast cancer patient from all over the world on it looks like a QR code. So it opens up. Yeah. It opens up and delivers. In fact, your listeners can go on my Instagram, Cherie B Mathews, and one, they can get my flip book for another maybe 24 hours. And two, I have my technology there. Eli technology looks like a QR code, but when you open it up, you can text it to yourself, send it to a friend, help anybody anywhere in the world for free. There's no hooks and grabs. It is added value. It's making my one solution into a massive solution. So again, on Instagram, you can follow me there and go look at it, grab it for free, get my flip book. And if I can bless you, get you energized about innovative thinking, I'm your girl.
That's awesome. And I'm definitely going to include the link to those pages in the write-up that we'll do, for this podcast episode. So everyone listening, it's Cherie B Mathews. Is that where you are on Instagram, right, Cherie?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Cherie, and it's Cherie.
And one T on Mathews.
Yep. So go ahead and look for that. And if you want the link, just hop onto the article associated with this episode on our website, American Snippets. And I'm going to pop those links up there too. Cherie, what you're doing is incredible. Like your reach and your impact is going to go so far. And even just taking that person who's in that moment and helping them focus on, again, forward moving solutions instead of what if, what could, or just feeling disconnect. And there's a difference between going in chat rooms, right? Because chat rooms, people get personal, they unload their stories and their despair and all that. And that's not always like a positive experience to go. So what you're offering people is that just, hey, like you're catching them before they fall, before they go down, and you're going to ward off. I imagine, man, when you start hearing back, say, however, down the road, when you first start getting feedback from people who are able to use this product that you're putting out there, I can't even imagine what that's going to feel like for you, but I hope it feels as awesome as it sounds.
Thank you. I'm going to, I guess, when is this going to air?
Probably soon. What is it? I'll probably drop this one next week.
Okay. So you let me know, text me, because what I'm going to do is put it on my Instagram, the code, just for you.
Perfect.
And people can just take their smart device, go to the Instagram, put your phone in camera mode, just like you do for scanning anything, and put it on the code. And then $1 billion worth of IP, other people's intellectual property platforms will be available you can share. So sometimes you don't know how to help a breast cancer patient.
Yeah.
And now you can very easily. And if they're having surgery, Heal and Comfort is my name of my company. Honored and happy to help. So.
Yeah, awesome. Cherie, thank you again so much. A, for all you do. B, for sharing your energy and your insight with me directly today and with our community here very soon. I can't thank you enough.
Thank you for the great honor.